Lifeweaver gets an absolutely huge buff to his healing, his damage, his playstyle, and his ultimate ability. Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. So we've got a director's take from Aaron Keller, and this is incredible. I love these. They go into so much detail on the decision-making process the developers are actually taking when it comes to, making major changes to the game. Now, obviously, Lifeweaver has been a major talking point of recent weeks. He obviously launched. We'll go on to what Aaron says in a second. He says he landed with quite a splash, and you could say landed with quite a flop in terms of just the way players were perceiving the hero. Now, I still do think that Lifeweaver, yeah, he does have a place in the game in his current state, and there are really funky things you can do with him that no other hero can do. And so, yeah, he does occupy a very unique space. However, these changes are going to make him just better, and I think that's what Blizzard are going for. So let's take a look at what Aaron actually says. The director's take: Lifeweaver's growth and balance. Lifeweaver came out last week and landed with quite a splash. There was a lot of conversation about his abilities, his background, and let's be honest here, his hotness. Let's go into detail about where we think he's at and what we're going to do to him going forward, and his effect on our philosophy on heroes and how we release them. Currently, Lifeweaver is performing in multiple variations in quick play while players are learning the new hero. We saw Lifeweaver's win rate climb faster than other heroes when they launched, perhaps due to the surprising piece of data that his win rate is much higher for low skill players than it is for high skill players. Lifeweaver is a complex hero, and he has an amazing kit with abilities that can have high impact in a match. However, these factors can make it harder to balance a hero at launch. Could there be aspects of his kit, like the slow while charging heal, that punish high skill players? Could the auto aim on his heal have a much higher benefit for low skill players? I think we should touch on this because I think this is really cool. So they're saying here that they didn't expect him to have as high of a win rate as he actually does in lower ranks. He doesn't stipulate what the lower ranks are, but I'm pretty sure that's anything below platinum. It might even be gold and below when they class like what a lower rank is. And I think it is a very apt thing to say that, yeah, his heal, even though it isn't a massive heal, it is quite easy to aim, especially at range. If you compare it to Ana, for example, lower skill players probably find it harder to actually heal with Ana, whereas the higher skill players, they would actually do more healing as Ana. You guys can see in the gameplay footage that's running in the background here. I've got an Ana with me sometimes in this match, I think, and on the enemy team as well. Maybe I don't have one with me, but there's one in the game. Their healing is just better than mine. Their damage is better than mine, and I'm playing on Lifeweaver. Now, it must be said, that Lifeweaver footage is from current live Lifeweaver. It's not from the updated Lifeweaver, because, of course, that's going to happen next week. But, yeah, this is really cool stuff, right? So they're being very honest here. They're saying, look, we've got this hero, and maybe at higher skill levels isn't as good as we thought he would be because of things going on in his kit. However, those same things are actually making him much better at a lower skill tier. He then moves on to say, we also heard from players that his control scheme feels awkward, with weapon swapping between damage and healing and petal platform on alternate fire cited the most. We'll be changing these, but I wanted to give a little context into how we ended up with this scheme. When we first began working on Lifeweaver, the idea was to create a support hero that spent most of their time healing, needed little aiming skill to heal, and brought transformational abilities to the battlefield. Take, for instance, the weapon swap. Early in development, his weapon was a lot less effective than it is today, but steadily over time, it was tweaked in a number of ways that ultimately led to the Thorn Volley that you see today. We learned to play Lifeweaver in a certain state, and as his kit evolved, we weren't responsive in evolving his control scheme as well. So that final line there is quite, that's very open from a development perspective. He's basically saying we've made a mistake here in developing this hero. As things were moving along, we didn't move along his control scheme. Yeah, we made changes to his abilities and all of that stuff, but we never actually kept up with the control scheme changes. So we ended up with a clunky feeling hero, which then, of course, a lot of feedback starts coming in once the hero is live in the game that, yeah, this hero it feels like we've got to do a lot here to get any kind of value. You know, it's very awkward with the weapon swap, and the list just goes on and on and on. So for him to come out and say this and just say, yeah, that was the reason why, and so we're going to fix it, it's really good to see this. You know, a lot of people go in on Blizzard recently, and I've done this myself to some extent, on the idea of where is the communications. And also Blizzard were a little bit, in the past, they were kind of guilty of giving too much communication, but it was communication on topics that didn't really matter. It was maybe communication on topics that mattered to the developers, but not really to the player base. So then you would see not many people picking up that stuff, and the engagement, I guess, would be lower. But I think now they're starting to really get into their own with this, and these developer updates are really, really cool, because this is essentially the man who's in charge of the development of Overwatch, the actual game director, telling you what the problems are. And we've never really had this before. We've never had this before, so it's really, really cool to see. He goes on to say, what are we going to do to him? In next week's patch, we'll be making some changes to his control scheme. Going forward, his new default control scheme will be. Now, no date is given as to when this update will come out, but I would bet money on this being Tuesday. The long shot would be Thursday, but I would imagine this would come out on Tuesday next week. These are the changes, though. Thorn Volley will be moved to alternate fire. Petal Platform will be moved to ability slot 1. Rejuvenating Dash will be activated with double jump. Petal Platform will be cancelable by pressing the button again. The passive reload will be slowed for the weapon that Lifeweaver isn't currently using. However, players will still have the option to use his original control scheme if they prefer. Again, this is really good to me, and I will be using the new control scheme because it just is more intuitive. When I want to do damage, I press alternate fire. When I want to heal, I press primary fire. When I want to dash, I press double jump. This is it's so much easier. Also, when I want to cancel the Petal Platform, I'll just press the same button I press to activate it, which would be shift, because I play on PC. That is so much easier to use. It is a lot more intuitive, and I think it's going to make the hero feel way better. And then I think we're going to see a lot of people, I guess, playing the hero more, and then we might start seeing things develop in terms of strategies around the hero. There is, however, buffs coming to the hero, so get ready for this. They're also making changes to some of Lifeweaver's abilities. The slow effect on Lifeweaver's heal will only be applied for a short time after it's charged. We're currently testing it at 1 second. This was originally designed to discourage players from permanently holding a healing charge, but the current implementation is too strict. Now, I really like this explanation here, because think of it this way. I reckon Blizzard were really worried of people running around with this like 65 heal in their back pocket. Like, yeah, I'm going to throw this. I was going to say big. It's not a big heal, but I've got this 65 heal and it's always fully charged. And I'm going to throw it out there, and it's going to somehow be this like game-changing heal that's always on tap. So to counter that, they've gone, no, you will slow down when you charge it. So that means you don't really want to be running around with this thing charged, because it's 25% movement speed penalty on live. It's like, well, this is terrible. Like, you don't want this. So you often end up not actually preloading your heal. You know what I'm saying? Like, you sort of, or at least this is how I found playing the hero. Like, I would just, I need to heal, so I'd swap to heal, then I'd start charging it and throwing it. I'm not actually preloading the heal. So maybe Blizzard were a little bit too worried about that, and it looks like they probably were, given these changes that Aaron has just outlined. Then also goes on to say, Tree of Life will receive a health buff and do more healing per pulse. Now, we do have the details of this, because Alec Dawson over on Twitter breaks down Healing Blossom, Thorn Volley, Tree of Life changes in terms of their stats. So we'll go over those in a little second, but I just want to finish off what Aaron is saying here in his developer update. He then says Parting Gift will be removed. So these are the actual specifics from the lead hero designer. Healing Blossom, the ammo is going up from 12 to 20. Now that's a massive increase, right? So you're just going to be able to do more healing. The slow during the charge now kicks in 1 second after fully charging. Thorn Volley, the spread has been tightened. That's going to make it more deadly. A lot more deadly, to be honest. If you can aim with it, you're going to get a lot of return. Because I found this actually really fun to use, but you never really tend to do a lot of damage, because obviously the spread is massive. So when you're firing across the map, it's nowhere near as deadly as a Kiriko kunai, for example. Obviously, that's got a headshot multiplier on it and whatnot. But, and a really, well, it's triple headshot multiplier, isn't it? Because Lifeweaver has a headshot multiplier, but it's not triple. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. Right, let me move on. So Tree of Life, the health is going up to 1200 on this from 1000, right? And the per healing pulse is going up to 75 instead of 50. So that's a big increase to Tree of Life. I still think this is, I don't want to say trash because I don't think it's trash, but it's just such a strange ultimate. Like, I know what they're going for. Oh, look, he's the guy who uses hard light technology to bring things back to life, and oh, he's got a tree and it's the Tree of Life. I get that, I get it, but it's still, it literally is just a big square you put down which will block people and heal your team. Yeah, and just keep using it to block people in spawn rooms or block them in a choke or whatever, because it's kind of like a Zen Transcendence, but this is making it better, right? So it will be kind of a little bit more similar to a Zen Transcendence, but still, it's not a Zen Transcendence. That is a much better ultimate. And Parting Gift is removed as well, he says. He then does also say that there's going to be some sort of Q&A stream coming shortly. I don't know what that is. I'd imagine they've probably got some sort of content creators in for that again, as they tend to do with Twitch streamers, which seems to be their prerogative these days. But I don't know, like, whether that's going to be worth watching or not. Again, I don't know any details on that, but it's always worth, I guess, getting a bit of additional information. So then Aaron expands on these changes, right? And he says this: Lifeweaver has given us a lot to think about for hero development, specifically the complexity of heroes, the amount of new and unique abilities, and the balance of heroes at launch. Lifeweaver has a few abilities that don't have a precedent in Overwatch, and when they're combined with the extra effort around the weapon swap, it can get a little overwhelming. We think that streamlining the kit by reworking the weapon swap and removing Parting Gift, along with more fluid control scheme, will make Lifeweaver a little easier to pick up and understand, and elevate him into a much better position. Now, that you've done that deliberately, haven't you? Elevate him into a much better position. The number of unique high-impact abilities on Lifeweaver can be seen as a bit of a departure for Overwatch hero design. In the past, we might have spread these abilities among more than one hero. This is how Genji and Hanzo were created. However, there is so much to dive into with the hero, and the learning process of how to play him is fun in and of itself. There's such a big range of possibilities of what he can potentially do in a match. There are two sides to this coin, and there's been a lot of player excitement around his kit. While we won't make every Overwatch hero this complex, we think there's room to make more heroes like Lifeweaver in the future. Regarding new hero balance, we're not exactly shifting our philosophy, but we do think that both Lifeweaver and Ramatra landed a little softer than we would have liked. We recognise that a hero's win rate will climb after they launch, but we also want those same heroes to feel exciting for players on day one. Our goal is for new heroes to feel balanced at launch, not overpowered, but definitely not underpowered either. When we don't hit the mark, we'll make adjustments based on your feedback and the data that we see. I hope you are all enjoying Lifeweaver, and I can't wait to show you what other changes are coming in Season 4, and I'll see you in the game. So, yeah, like, I think that the point there of the two recent heroes being very underwhelming, I mean, maybe you could put Junker Queen in this, although Junker Queen was really strong when she first launched, but her launch was really weird because she launched into Overwatch League before we could actually play her, because remember, they were playing Overwatch 2 before anyone else was, and then she got toned down. She might have been seen in the opposite way, that she was really strong and then she got nerfed. Whereas Ramatra, yeah, he was a little bit weak when he came out, and they had to make a bunch of changes to make him more impactful. And I think Lifeweaver was like even worse really in that regard. Kind of had like a meh impact on the game, although I still do feel if played correctly, Lifeweaver can have a massive impact on the game, but it just requires a lot of different things coming together to make it work. The player needs to be very aware of what's going on. They need to know when to use life grip. They need to know how to swap their weapons, well, rather the right time to swap their weapon. And it is very difficult to get that sort of perceived value from him when you could just play a different support. Although I do think it's interesting how he broke down between the different skill tiers as well, how he is seeing more win rate at lower ranks. Anyway, yeah, this idea of the heroes coming out when they're weak, or launching weak. The problem Overwatch has got now, and this again is one of the issues I'll never, ever, ever, ever like heroes in the Battle Pass, is it's just that, right? The hero in the Battle Pass needs to be strong to sell the Battle Pass. And I don't know what they were thinking with Lifeweaver. Maybe it's like, okay, we'll you know, his design, his aesthetic and all of that, is that enough to sell Lifeweaver? But actually, when people were playing him, they were not getting that instant like, wow, this is a really strong hero, or I need to buy the battle pass. And I think this is the problem Blizzard have got. I reckon the game director and maybe some of the old people still in there from the glory days of Overwatch 1 don't want to just make ridiculously OP heroes to sell the battle pass. But I also think there's pressures coming down from above saying like, hey guys, this hero launch wasn't as impactful as the last one because of X, Y, and Z. And I think that's a problem. So maybe we go into a world where the next hero launched is absolutely insane to the point of everybody needs this hero, and then more battle pass sales get pushed through. And that's just the way of looking at it. Yeah, you can sound being cynical there, but again, this is the issue with heroes in the battle pass. Or one of them. There's multiple issues with heroes in the battle pass. But yeah, all right, guys, I think I'm going to leave the video at that. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, let me know what you think about all of this in the comments below. And I am looking forward to playing these changes when they hit the live server. All right, guys, I'll catch you on the next video. See you soon.